Hey everybody, Dan Candell here, the anxiety relief guy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how you win the battle over your internal worry monster. A lot of my clients tell me, Dan, I stay up all night worrying about the next day or being stressed out about something that happened the previous day, and what do I do about the fact that I worry too much? Have you had this realization before where you worry way too much about something that probably won't even happen? There's actually been a quote, there's a quote flying around that says it's something like, worrying about something is the same as putting a deposit on a house that you're never gonna get. So worrying is putting a deposit in on something that probably is not going to happen. In fact, when we worry about things, 85% of the stuff we worry about isn't even gonna happen. Try that on for size. But today I'm gonna provide insight into worry and into your worry monster, so you can finally crush that little worry monster in its tracks, and just some mindset shifts to have about it. And I have some notes here on my fancy famous index cards, my anxiety relief guy index cards. So here are some worry insights. Here are some things, some insights that you can have about your internal worry monster. And as you've heard me say before, that I actually got from a therapist I interviewed on a podcast that I used to have, the itty bitty shitty committee, like that inner critic, that barking dog, or that worry monster, whatever you want to call it. Here are some insights about your internal worry or the struggle or battle you have with worry. Number one is we are not born worrywarts. We're not born chronic or natural worriers. We're not. Think of this. You're not born into this world a little infant going, oh my gosh, I'm so worried about this. What happens if the people that what happens if we're not born that way. We are trained to worry. It's a trained behavior. In fact, people say to me all the time, they say, worry runs in my family. Everybody in my family are chronic worriers. We worry all the time. It runs in our blood. No, it doesn't. Here's what happens. You're trained to worry. Has this happened to you before? You fall down, you scrape your knee. And mom or dad's like, oh my gosh, be careful. Oh no, you can't do that. Watch out, we don't ever want that to happen again. Oh my gosh. And people freak out. Has anybody ever freaked out around you and you start to respond the same way? You start to learn how to respond the same way. You see, we are actually trained to worry. We are trained to perseverate on things. You might even realize, oh my gosh, that person doesn't worry about things. What's wrong with me? Why am I worrying so much about stuff? Why am I doomsdaying so much stuff? What's going on with me? You might have that realization, but guess what? Nothing's wrong with you. It's just a habituated behavior. It's a habit where we get caught in that habit of worrying too much, to the point where it becomes so natural, it becomes habitual. It can get in the way, worry can get in the way. When you start worrying too much, it can get in the way of your personal life. It can get in the way of your professional life. It can also get in the way of your relationships. It can ruin relationships because worry can become so destructive where you actually start to bring other people into that worry, and then they get worried about you because you're worrying so much about other things. So your worry can be contagious. So that's why we want to stop the worry pattern in its tracks. That's why we want to win over the worry monster in our head. And there are ways that you can do it. But before you know the ways to overcome that worry monster, it's important to understand that there are two types of worrying. There are two types of worry that we do. Number one is productive worry. This is a worry that solves a problem. So when a person is worrying about something, there is a productive type of worrying that solves a problem. For example, I'm going on a trip next week. oh my gosh, okay, so because of the whole pandemic, I'm worried if, is my plane going to take off? Is my flight going to be rescheduled? Is it going to be canceled? So that's a productive worry because it causes you to take action to discover a solution or to discover an outcome, to be on top of things. So there are productive worry, which actually helps you move towards a solution, which actually helps you be on top of things and take action towards something. That is a productive worry. There is also, on the flip side of that, a destructive worry. The destructive worry is a type of worry that causes problems. That's the type of worry where it keeps you awake at night. It keeps you stuck. That's the type of worry where it interferes with everybody else's life because maybe you start intervening with other people's lives. That's the type of worry where people start to get really annoyed with you, and you probably start to get annoyed with all that worry. You're like, I don't know why I'm worrying about this. There's no reason for me to be worrying about this. So when you recognize those thoughts as destructive, that's when you can begin to do something about it. And I got to be honest with you, a lot of people don't even realize that their worry is destructive until it starts affecting their relationships around them. Their relationship with their significant other, their spouse or partner, their relationship with their kids, their relationship with their employees or people they work with, their relationship with their friends. Chronic worry is something that can get in the way, and it can cause isolation, and it can also cause deep anxiety that can be difficult to get out of if you let that pattern continue too much. So the two types of worry, if you're just joining us, productive worry and destructive worry. Now, there are actually 3 types of worry personality types. So there are 3 types of people with chronic, who worry. So there are 3 types of worriers, and we got to go through these. Number 1 is the internal worry. The internal worry. This is a person who internalizes the worry and they don't really let it out. It doesn't really affect them all that much or their outside relationships, but internally, it eats them up inside. And they feel fatigued, they feel exhausted because they're internalizing all that worry. In fact, I saw this on a talk show the other day. They're like ducks, where on the surface, they're like, but underneath the surface of the water, their feet are going like that. So the internal worry types of people, those types of people, they don't let it out. They don't have appropriate outlets. And eventually, it's all going to build up like steam, and they're going to blow a freaking gasket. So internal worry, even though it doesn't seem to bother people around them, it can actually be really detrimental to them. Number 2 is what we call a classic worry person, a classic worrier, a classic worry personality type. This is where the wheels spin too much, and they don't always take action on their worry. So for example, let's say you have 3 kids, and your 3 kids are off to college, and you're worrying about, I wonder what they're doing right now. I wonder if they're passing all their classes. They haven't called me in 2 days. I wonder if something's wrong. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with them, but you've created the thought of what if in your head. And the people who are classic worry types are the types of people who perseverate on what if, but they don't always act on it. They don't always call their kids and harass them. They don't always intervene on the things that they're worrying about. They'll let it affect their lives in their inner circle around them, but it's not something that's going to cause them to really lose relationships, because the only people that will really take action on these worry thoughts are the people in their immediate circle. The 3rd type is the most destructive type. The 3rd type is the chronic or perseverating worry personality. These are the extremists. the 5 alarmists. These are the people who are constantly on edge and it becomes destructive to them. These are the people that will wake up in the middle of the night like, oh my gosh, what if a car drives into my house right now? These are the types where they will doomsday the hell out of everything. They'll wake up, oh my God, what if my partner's cheating on me? Oh, they're right there. Okay. Well, what if they're dream cheating? What if they're dream cheating? That's just as bad as regular cheating. So these are the people that doomsday everything. And 85% of the stuff that they're thinking about will never happen. But that doesn't make it any more or less impactful or profound because it still affects their life. And this is where it becomes destructive on relationships around them. These are the people where they will call, where they will intervene too much. These are the people where they seem like they're nosy Nellies, always trying to protect everybody else. But in reality, they don't even realize this. The only person they're really trying to protect is themselves. But they tell themselves, I care about everybody else. I just want the best for everybody. That's why I worry so much. That's just who I am. And you know what? That's baloney. That's not just who they are. And usually people who feel this way, they don't realize it's a problem until it's brought to their attention by other people. When you let this type of worry go, it can be so destructive where it can isolate that person from everybody else. It can cause people to feel like they're miserable to be around, and it can cause depression and severe anxiety. Now, I'm not a therapist who's saying that I'm going to diagnose people. That's not my jive. That's not what I do. That's not what I can do. Yet, when I say depressed or depression, I mean it can lead a person to feel sad, and it can lead up to physical manifestations of anxiety where the anticipation and the anxiety can actually cause physical symptoms where people can start to feel sick, or it'll really interfere with their patterns, and it will interfere with almost every part of their life if they let it keep going on and on and on and on and on. So here are some realizations. Realization number 1, as I've said before, 85% of the things that people worry about never happen. Number 2, when you realize you are in control of your internal worry, that's where you begin to take action. But it has to start with a decision and a realization. When you realize, oh my gosh, I've been worrying about this and there's no reason why I should be worrying about it. When you realize that, you can begin to make shifts. And here's one of the ways that you can shift out of worry. Number 1 is recognize it. As soon as you start to worry about something, recognize it and say, oh, there it goes again. There it goes again. My brain is hiccuping again. There I go. Up. And if you name the worry something, and you say, oh, that's just Patricia piping up again, and you name the worry, it gives it a human characteristic. And science has shown that when you give feelings, emotions, or sensations human characteristics or physical characteristics, it puts us more in control of them. Now, when you identify it and you say to yourself, "Oh, that's just Karen in my head," or whatever it is, you can ask yourself this question: is there a benefit to this? Is there a benefit to this? Now, one of my clients, I asked her this last week. I said, okay, we'll say her name was Susan. I said, okay, Susan, when was the last time specifically you worried about something? She's like, my husband was 5 minutes late from work, and I kept thinking to myself, maybe he's dead or worse. I'm like, well, what's worse than being dead? Maybe he's cheating on me with another woman. I'm like, or another man. That could throw a wrench in plans too. It's like, whatever. that's just my my Dan sense of spidey senses of what to say. Foot and mouth insert here, right? So I asked her, I said, is there a benefit to this worry? And she goes, yeah, there is. I said, okay, what's the benefit? She said, I wanted to make sure my husband was safe. So I kept calling him and calling him and calling him. I said, because he was 5 minutes late. I said, when did you start calling him? She goes, well, he said he was going to be home at 4, and I started calling him at 4:01. I said, oh, okay. And you think there's a benefit from that because you wanted to make sure he was safe at 4:01. I said, what are some of the other possibilities other than he died or is cheating on you? What are some other possibilities that are actually more realistic possibilities? She goes, well, he could have got caught in traffic. I said, yeah, that's one. What's another one? He could have had a phone call that caused him to stay at the office later. Yeah, that's another one. And I said, what if he stopped to buy you flowers because he is hot and bothered and turned on by you? And she got this look on her face and she's like, I guess that could be a possibility. And I said to her, if you didn't worry so much about things, do you think that could be even more of a possibility? So anyway, we went down this rabbit hole where we equated her being able to overcome her worry with having a fiery, passionate sex life with her husband, which actually worked very well. So there are ways to interrupt the worry. There are ways to stop those thought patterns. And one of the ways is to first recognize it. And number 2 is to ask yourself, is there a benefit? And 8.5 times out of 10, there is no benefit to that worry. Absolutely none. There are ways where you can actually stop the worry pattern in its tracks. They involve a little bit deeper work. And if you'd like to gain some more insight into how I do that with people, guess what? Myself and my team actually put together a brand new roadmap that brings you through in a brand new free training that brings you through my process of the nine steps of how I work with people. And these are realizations and mindset shifts that I get all of my clients to make. If you'd like to go through that training, and it's completely free, if you find yourself worrying too much, or if you find yourself having anxiety too much, or you find yourself doubting yourself too much, go ahead and sign up for that free training. The link is in the description of the video, and it is also going to be posted in the comments below. So go ahead and sign up for that. It is a 9-step system. As a result, you also get my Focus Hacks training as well. And there are 5 adjustments you can make to your workspace and workstation to actually get way more done in less time. And there's a lot of surprising information there. So you also get that as part of the training. So with that said, my friends, it was a wonderful pleasure bringing this to you. This was actually a video that I wanted to shoot and go live with since last week. But I was so busy doing so much other work and putting together this roadmap of how I work with people and the system of what I bring people through, and because I've been getting a lot of clients reaching out to me lately and saying, we attended one of your webinars, or one of our friends had worked with you, and we got to tell you, we know that they've worked with other hypnotists before, and they said that the experience they had with you was completely different. And I do take a very different, I have to say so myself, I do take a very different approach. I'm not saying that other approaches do not work. I'm just saying I take a very different approach to the way that I work with people. And this, by the way, is going to give you insight into how you can start to break free from your anxiety, from your worry, from your doubt, from your perseveration, from your mental clutter. This is how you can really break away from that and make groundbreaking transformations and break through. So you literally recognize a pattern, stop the pattern. So there is some deeper work that we do in that, and it is an absolute absolute wonderful process, and actually it's a pretty fun process and a clearing process to it. People feel really, really free, really clear after they go through it because we're clearing all that mental clutter. Michael DeShalla just joined us, so it's time for us now to say goodbye, my friend, or not goodbye, until next time. And so I can call Michael DeShalla, who's watching this video right now, because I have some interesting news for him. So with that said, my friends, Dan Candell here, your anxiety relief guy. I love bringing this info and insight into you. Please feel free to comment, feel free to like, feel free to share with other people in your network, and always feel free to reach out. Be well, do good, be true to who you are. Peace out.